So what players do we think are going to have the biggest impacts for the remainder of the fantasy football season? I'm intrigued to hear what you guys have to say. And yeah, so trade deadline definitely just passed yesterday for most of your leagues. So your rosters are going to be mostly locked in. We'll see what happens from here. So, all right, who's going to get this first overall pick?
So we're doing this as if it's a standard league, correct?
Yes.
I just want to make sure standard.
Yes.
Like
Quarterback,
well, PPR,
PPR, yeah,
PPR,
okay.
but
Full
standard
PPR,
quarterback, like
one
4-point
quarterback, 12 teams.
Yes, QB, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver,
Yeah.
tight end, and double
Yeah.
flex.
But we're not
It's
drafting a team.
yeah,
Right.
true.
We're just going to go
doing
through
the
the
draft board. Yeah.
So, all right, Tom. You know what? You go ahead, start us off. We're gonna just do 1, 2, 3, and then back to Tom.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
go from there.
I'll start us off. I think maybe not a no-brainer, but I think it's a no-brainer. With the 101, I'm going to select Christian McCaffrey. You never like to go positional in the early part of the draft, and there's definitely another guy you could have went with here. But the running back position has gotten torn apart. And to have the best running back in fantasy football by a crazy margin, might I add, he has 241.9 points on the year, and the next running back is Mostert with 180.9. So he's the RB1 that's not even close. Christian McCaffrey, fantasy monster. Love the guy.
You have Mostert at 180.9. Why is this?
Do I know?
Why is my scoring different? What in the world?
Are you going to full PPR?
Yeah. I have Travis Etienne at number 2, but
Yeah, whatever.
yeah, whatever. Don't matter that much. All right, so with the second overall pick, I think it's pretty obvious. It's Tyreek Hill.
Oh, man.
The man has dominated. He has been unbelievable. And on any given week, the guy could go for 50. His floor this season was 10.2 points, and that was week 4. His ceiling has been as high as 44.5, and then you have multiple 30-point games, multiple 25-point games. He's been pretty much the most consistent fantasy producer this year, and every game is a big game for Tyreek Hill. So he's easily the second pick in this draft.
So with the third pick, this might come as a shock, but I'm going to go with a guy who's been balling out. Sorry, I'm just pulling up stats.
You're good.
I'm going to go with Mr. CD Lamb.
Oh,
That's who I would have
yep,
picked.
that's
yeah.
exactly
CeeDee
what I would have
Lamb,
taken too.
You know, currently he's the wide receiver 3. He has 214 total points on the season. He's having a career year, but especially the past couple of weeks, he's been pretty insane over the past 4 weeks. I mean, I have it in front of me. In terms of yards, he clears everyone by over 100 yards since week 8. He's 538 yards since week 8. The next closest is Keenan Allen at 437. He's 4 touchdowns over that span, 53 targets, which is also the most in that span. Obviously, also the most receptions. CeeDee Lamb looks like he's taken his game to another level, and his rapport with Dak Prescott has jumped to another level. He's clearly, obviously we all knew CeeDee Lamb was the number 1 target there in Dallas going into the season, but I think at this point in the season, might be the number 1 target in the entire NFL the way he's producing right now. He's producing over the past 4 weeks as the best receiver in football,
Yes.
in fantasy football. So I'm going with CeeDee Lamb.
He also set an NFL record, most consecutive games of 150-plus yards and 10-plus catches, which was 3 in a row. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, that'll do it. So it's
Back to you.
Oh, it's back to me?
Yeah.
Oh,
We're just going to go like that.
I wasn't ready for this. Fuck. I really wanted to pick another guy. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to take Amon-Ra St. Brown here.
Ooh.
And that might be a little bit of a shocker, but I just feel like for fantasy, he's like your dream player. He gets so many targets. He catches so many passes, and he's always a threat to get a touchdown on a great offense where he's the number 1 target by a landslide. And even if the other guys are getting involved, Amon-Ra seems to always find a way to get his. I mean, I'm pulling up the numbers here. He's the wide receiver 6, and that's with a game missed already.
Yeah.
His lowest scoring game this season was week 2 with 14.2. It doesn't get much more. It doesn't get more reliable than that. So the Sun God is my pick here.
Yeah. I spoke about floors with Tyreek Hill, and Amon-Ra probably has the safest floor in the entire league. All right, with all that being said, I feel like I have to stick at the wide receiver position. And although he did just have a really rough game, his worst game of the entire season, the man's been an animal all year. I'm going to rely on the fact that him and Jalen Hurts are going to be perfectly fine. He has an easy schedule for the remainder of the season in terms of wide receiver matchups, all green rated except for one, and I'm taking A.J. Brown without question for the remainder of this football season.
I just want to say I had a league where I was up by 2.5 points last night, and I was playing A.J. Brown, and I won because he only put up 1.8.
You were probably like, oh, well, that's a loss.
I didn't even look at it because I saw, like, after Sunday, I'm like, oh, well, I'm up by 2, and this guy has A.J. Brown to play. And then I looked, like, mid-game, because someone did a trade, so I wanted to see what it was, and it said I had a 44% chance to win. I was like, what? I was like, wait, A.J. Brown is doing shit, and he didn't do shit. So
44 with a whole half to go is wild, though. For him to get, like, pretty much just
it was like,
point.
it was like, bro, he had one catch
For 8
I think
yards,
the first quarter, and then didn't catch another ball.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's still a great pick, though.
So with my next pick, this might come as another surprise, but I'm going to go with Travis Etienne here. I think Travis Etienne's been great so far this season. He's the RB3 right now. You know, he has 7 touchdowns on the year. He's third in the tied for second actually in the entire NFL in attempts this year. He's been pretty good in terms of receiving the ball too. And I think this Jaguars offense as a whole has another level they can reach as an overall offense. So I think that automatically translates to Travis Etienne having another level that he can reach. And he's already been great this year. I think there's a chance that Travis Etienne could finish the year as the RB1 overall, honestly.
Yes.
I mean, he's right there right now, so why not? So I'm gonna go with Travis Etienne. I believe in him, and I believe in the Jaguars.
It's an uphill battle with McCaff as high as he is.
Yeah, McCaff is just so far ahead in points.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the theory's there. Man, this is tough.
Do you stick running back or do you shift?
Well, so that's what I was thinking at first, and then I'm like, wait, I'm not really building a team. I'm just trying to say, like, I have the, whatever it is, 8th pick.
This would be...
Who am I taking here?
7.
7?
This would be the 7th pick.
I feel like based on what I've seen, I got to go Keenan Allen.
Good pick. That was exactly what I was gonna take.
This guy's been a monster all year, and I mean, I guess there's kind of a theme. I'm picking Keenan Allen and Amon-Ra St. Brown. They're low floor guys because Keenan Allen's always been that guy though.
Floor.
Yeah, high floor. I'm sorry. Thank you.
I got you.
Keenan Allen's always been that guy though. Like any week he's good to get 10 catches, and in a full PPR, you can't ask for much more than that. He's had one down game of like 9 points, but he's had 2 40-point games. Like, the guy's just been an absolute monster, and Lord knows Herbert needs his help, so he's going to keep throwing him the ball. I don't see any reason to switch that up.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so it kind of gets tough for me. So I'm gonna take a very simple route here. I'm gonna go with, and this is kind of crazy, being that it's only the 8th pick now, but I'm going to draft a position that I know I'm going to get very safe and steady production, and I know I'm going to get points on a weekly basis. I'm going to take Josh Allen here because I know on a weekly basis the floor for Josh Allen is right around 22 points, and the advantage that he gives you over most other quarterbacks in terms of fantasy football, being that he's outscored the next highest one by 30 points, I'm going to take that advantage that's given to me by Josh Allen, and I'm going to draft him here.
So with my next pick, I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts for pretty much the same reasons. Just Jalen Hurts is the QB2 in comparison to the QB1. But like you said, Jalen Hurts is a guy where you know what you're getting from Jalen Hurts pretty much every week. I mean, you even look at last night's game. He didn't have a good game by any stretch of the imagination, but 2 rushing touchdowns, he finished with 20 points. That's the floor for Jalen Hurts, 20 points. So I'm going to take that guy. I think there's, it's Josh Allen and it's Jalen Hurts right now in terms of quarterbacks, and then there's a tier break.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely, because I'm not taking a quarterback.
Wild that Brian Robinson is running
Dude,
back 4.
these running backs are crazy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous right now. Rashad
Gus
White
Edwards
being
is the
running back
RB11.
5.
Like Gus Edwards is an
RB6.
RB1,
Yes.
Like that's where we're at right now.
Yeah. That's fucking ridiculous.
It's just insane. That being said, I'm between two running backs, but I'm gonna go with the rookie Jahmyr Gibbs. This guy's been lighting it up the past few weeks, and I know the first few weeks, if you had him like I did, actually the first 4 weeks, his highest was 12.6, and then the next 2 weeks he didn't play, but he came back since then, 27, 29, bye week, 26, 21. This guy's here to stay. He's going to catch passes out of the backfield. He's only getting better as a player as the season progresses, and so that's only a reason to integrate him more into the offense. And also, I believe their schedule is pretty favorable for him. And when you're coming down the stretch of a fantasy football season, the schedule matters. So I'm going to take Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, he's about the 12th best running back schedule.
Yeah, so he's going to get the volume, and you always want a guy that's a threat to score touchdowns. So I'll take Jahmyr Gibbs.
All right, this is kind of tough. I feel like we've reached the point where I'm just like, oof, okay, now I'm thinking a little bit. All right, I'm going to take the other receiver remaining that I would say is in the tier with all the guys that we've previously mentioned. He's coming off his 2 worst fantasy producing games this season so far, which, doesn't bode well, but I'm going to trust it. He's got a few great matchups, especially in the final 2 weeks of the season, and that's usually when you need your guys to perform the most.
Sure.
I'm going to take Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
I think he'll be perfectly fine. I think the big games are coming, and I think Buffalo hopefully somehow figures it out without Ken Dorsey.
So this here is where I'm going to take Alvin Kamara.
I was thinking of that
I
one as well.
was going between him and Gibbs. Yeah.
I mean, since he came back in week 4, he's the RB5, and and on the season as a whole, he's clearing all NFL running backs in terms of targets with 56. So, he's clearly one of the few guys in the NFL who's a threat out of the backfield in the passing game. We know Alvin Kamara could score 6 touchdowns in a single game. He could have a game where he explodes. So I know what Alvin Kamara, he's going to see the ball. There's going to be high leverage, high volume touches there for him. So, and he's been good in those touches so far this year. So I don't see why that doesn't continue.
Yeah.
So it's back to me, right?
Yes.
We're in the second round now?
We are now entering the second round.
You took Diggs.
Yeah, it starts to break off.
Yeah, there's
here.
definitely a tier drop here, I think. At the top of the second, I'm gonna go running back again. I'm gonna go DeAndre Swift. There's something about I don't like taking running backs in bad offenses because usually, no matter how good the guy is,
the floor is bad.
The floor is really low, and I just feel like with Swift, if they're up in a game, which the Eagles are up in a lot of games, he's going to run the ball a lot, and especially on the Eagles' offense, he's going to run the ball a lot. And he's going to score touchdowns. He's great in the passing game. He had a little bit of a slump for like a couple weeks, but he's a beast. I love DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take him there.
10th best running back schedule for the remainder of the season.
Absolutely, yeah.
And only 1 game with less than 10 points since week 2. So yeah, DeAndre Swift is a great pick.
And the other thing is, like I said, the running backs are just spread so thin, I feel like.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
which is why, for me, this will definitely come as a surprise. But I'm going to take a guy who notoriously goes off late in the season. Just gets stronger as that season progresses. He has a phenomenal playoff schedule for fantasy football, and it's a guy that I would definitely want on my fantasy team for playoff time, and it's Derrick Henry. It's a little early for him. He's only the RB16 at this point, but we are drafting for the remainder of the season as well. And I'm keeping in mind the fact that this man has Houston, Seattle, and Houston. 3 green-rated matchups in weeks 15 through 17, which are the playoff weeks. And Carolina and Indianapolis for the next 2 weeks. So in that playoff push, I want my guys to be productive. The floor is pretty rough for Derrick Henry. We've seen that the last couple of weeks with Will Levis, but I think come playoff time, Derrick Henry will be very productive for your fantasy football team.
So for that exact same logic, I'm going to go with Austin Eckler here. I think he's a steal at this point in the draft. I mean, Austin Eckler on the year is what? He's the RB25, but he missed
a couple
3
few
games he missed. You know, he is an RB2 finish. He has 2 RB4 finishes, an RB6 finish. He just came off his worst game, his second worst game so far this season. He had 7 points. He obviously had the viral clip of him looking slow, but we know what Austin Eckler could do as a pass catcher.
Bad.
I mean, I'm looking at it here. So like I said, this past week he had 7 points. In week 7, he had 5.6 points. Other than that, that's his lowest point total since week 4 of 2020, where he had 2.4. Other than that, everything else has pretty much been above double digits. So we know what the floor is with Austin Eckler. He's going to see targets. He's going to get the ball down in the goal line. He's going to see all the important touches for the Chargers pretty much. He's one of the better pass catchers in the NFL still at the running back position. So I think Austin Eckler is a steal at this point.
I really want to take a receiver, but there's a guy that I feel like I can't let him fall. The other rookie, Bijan Robinson.
Fuck, I was going to take him.
Yeah. When you said that Henry was the RB16, I was like, you know what? I'm looking too much at the position. I got to scroll down a little bit. And there he was. And his playoff schedule was a dream. Carolina, Indy, Chicago. I mean, doesn't get much better than that. Bijan is a beast. He's also getting acclimated into the offense more as the season goes on. I would not want to put my fantasy championship hopes in the hands of Arthur Smith.
Smith's hands.
But at this point, second round, I'm comfortable taking the risk here, taking Bijan Robinson.
Another point about Bijan is I know he's already seen a lot of touches, even though it's not as many as we would want. He's still seen a good amount of touches. Rookie running backs tend to not get going fantasy-wise until after the bye. They're coming off their bye week. I'm with you. I expect Bijan to be unleashed these next couple of weeks.
And I mean, look, the week prior to the bye, he had 22 carries.
Right.
So
it looks like they made a decision that they want to unleash him. Now they had a week of preparation to figure out how they're gonna unleash him. So yeah, Bijan should really turn it up.
I very much would need that for my dynasty team right now, being that I just lost Mark Andrews too, which is a fucking heartbreaker. I had 3 just a quick side note. I had 3 tight ends going into the season in my dynasty league. Mark Andrews, Darren Waller, and Luke Musgrave. All 3 are going to miss this week.
Yeesh.
I have none at the current moment.
Taysom Hill for a second.
Well, I can't trade now. It's past the trade deadline. He tried to get a second out of me for Taysom. I'm like, bro, come on, bro.
Wild.
Like, that's insane. But anyways, all right. So with my next pick, it does get a little difficult from here. I'm struggling here. This is crazy. And you said you don't like taking players from a bad offense. I'm going to go ahead and reach on a guy that the floor has been surprisingly high in the last few weeks. I gave him shit in the past, said he's ineffective.
Come on, man.
And he's been very good.
Come on, man.
He's been very
Tried to tell everyone,
very
man.
good.
Draft Richard White, bro. Come
Over
on.
his last 5 weeks, 15.9, 17.9, 27.9, 17.8, and 17.8. He loves 8 and 9s. Yeah, he's been incredibly productive. It's Rachaad White. His ceiling is pretty decently high if he scores a touchdown or 2. His floor is decent in fantasy football, given that he catches a bunch of passes out of the backfield. And he's looked a lot more spry recently. He just tore Talanoa Hufanga's ACL for him, so that was kind of wild. But yeah, shout out to Rachaad White, man. It's been unbelievable.
So with this next pick, I might be drafting based on nostalgia and false hope, but I have to go with Travis Kelce here. I just have to.
Oh, wow.
I know he
Yeah.
hasn't been in his same self so far this season. I know he's older. I know he's dealing with injuries. But it's Travis Kelce. His quarterback is Patrick Mahomes. And if I was drafting a team for the rest of the season, I would want Travis Kelce to be on that team. You know, when he's
agree,
on,
yeah.
he's clearly the best tight end in all of football, and that's an advantage that can't be valued enough in fantasy football. So I think Travis Kelce is the pick for me here,
All right.
especially with the Mark Andrews injury.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Makes a guy like Travis Kelce that much more valuable.
I've picked 3 straight running backs. I'm gonna. Oh man, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna break the streak. I'm gonna take Brandon Ayuk here. Brandon Ayuk is coming off a monster week. He's been great all season. I know there's the issue of the crowded offense. He's the wide receiver 15. He missed week 3. He's had some bad weeks, but he gets Seattle, Philly, Seattle, Arizona, Baltimore, Washington. Doesn't get much better than that in terms of schedule. And Brock Purdy loves Brandon Ayuk, and if the 49ers are in positions to score touchdowns, he is going to look for Brandon Ayuk, and he's another guy that's just kind of been getting better as the season goes on the football field. So I expect him to be way more involved,
All right.
or at least as involved.
So this next one's going to come, again, as a bit of a surprise. Matthew Stafford is currently healthy. Cooper Kupp is not. Given all of that,
Do it.
the man that went off early season, insane to say that he's getting picked in the second round of a redraft when he was going undrafted to start the season, and that is Puka Nacua. The schedule isn't incredibly favorable, but if we talk about the start of the season
Doesn't
without
matter.
Cooper Kupp, first 2 weeks, 15 and 20 targets off the bat, 7, 10, 11 after that. I trust what Puka's capable of with a healthy Matthew Stafford, and especially with Cooper Kupp out of the lineup. So Puka for the remainder of the season.
Oh, man. I'm in a tough position here. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to take Raheem Mostert.
Yeah.
Been great this year. Has 11 touchdowns, which is the most amongst all running backs. You know, he's almost at 700 yards, second in the league, playing in a great offense that should be down in the red zone a lot. I know Devon Achane may be back, may not be back. I don't know what his deal is with his injury, but Raheem Mostert's been great with him and without him. So
Yep.
I'm going to take Mostert here.
So this is the last round of picks, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I might be drafting my heart a little bit here, but I still think it's a great pick. I'm gonna go with Saquon Barkley. And I know I said I don't like taking guys on bad offenses, and he is on the
The
worst
worst,
offense
you
that
could
I've ever
argue.
seen in my life. But that being said, he's the only guy that can do anything on this team. He's gonna get targets. He's gonna get carries. Health is a concern. He's missed 3 games, but with missing 3 games, with the offense being the disaster that it is, he's still the RB15. So he could easily work his way up into that RB1, into an RB1. So I'm taking Saquon.
It's a surprise that he's fallen this far. But we were talking about running backs for the rest of the season, and I know a guy that just got 88% of the snaps in his last game. Didn't play the first half of the season, or the first 5 games of the season or so, and that's Jonathan Taylor. I expect his usage to stay increased. He had 23 carries and 18 the game before. He hasn't been incredibly efficient, but when we're talking volume, there's not many in the league that are going to get more of that than Jonathan Taylor over the next few weeks of the fantasy season.
All right. And with the last pick, the same reason I drafted Travis Kelce, I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes here. It's Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the world. Doesn't really need an explanation.
Yep.
Okay.
Undrafted guys, Tank Dell.
What was that? That was 2 full rounds, right?
Yeah.
4 rounds.
We
yeah.
can't
fine.
go any longer.
We cannot go any longer with this.
Josh Jacobs went undrafted.
There were a couple. There was one that my next pick was going to be Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams with Aiden O'Connell has averaged 12 targets per game.
Yeah.
So Devontae Adams is going to be my next pick.
Shout out Adam Thielen, man.
Yes.
Wide receiver 10.
Shout out to
Like,
Adam Thielen.
who knew?
Bro.
Oh no.
Yeah. DJ Moore is another very intriguing one because
Yeah.
one with Fields.
DJ Moore, it's just he's bolstered. When you look at the rankings, it's like, ooh, DJ Moore. But when you really think about it, he had that one insane game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That really
That I
boosted.
played
He's
him.
definitely been
To
solid.
be
this
fair,
year. Yeah.
with Justin Fields.
Yeah, he's definitely been solid, but compared to his ranking, like, you know what I mean? He's ranked a little bit high. Obviously, he went undrafted, so he's
Yeah.
obviously ranked higher than we would draft him in terms of his points scored this season.